Welcome to today's session on meeting global data standards in IT outsourcing with Accops. As an IT-enabled service provider, especially globally, the pressure is to comply with the frameworks like GDPR, ISO 27001, and SOC 2, etc. Okay. So at the same time, time securing distributed teams and protecting sensitive client data across hybrid environment has become a business critical priority. So in today's session, Mayank Mudgal will take you along the technology provided by Accops. Mayank is a director solution consulting in Accops and has been with the system for 3+ years. I would now hand over to Mayank to take it ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Badiaji. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Mr. Badia said, we'll be discussing about the IT outsourcing and how we can meet the global standards. Because see, what happens is these days, everybody is struggling because of the compliances plus the increasing cost of hardware, then people thinking about cloud and various other factors. And when you are a global organization, you have to think that how you're going to protect your data, right? Because data is the most important thing. As some say that data is the new oil, right? So, you know, in order to do that, the most of the pressure, if we look at from a customer standpoint, it is on CIOs, CISOs, and all. Even though they could be in a business of, let's say, manufacturing or anything, right? Where this thing becomes more critical. Why? Because the data has to be within their premises because it contains the IP. Right? Now, in order to expand, be it organically or inorganically, they need to hire people, whether on their payroll, whether they are, contractors, or maybe large distributors or, you know, um, resellers who are part of their uh, logistics or whatever, right? So in that scenario, as a IT organization or a SI player, we have to be very, very cognizant of the fact that whatever be the scenario, right, we have to meet the compliances, plus we have to make sure that their IP is always protected. Same thing applies, like I said, for manufacturing. Same thing applies for BFSI sector, because what has happened is that if you look at some of the large players, right? Let's just take a name like Mercedes, for example. Now, Mercedes is across the globe, right? They have manufacturing plants, let's say in India, their headquarters is Europe, right? They have plants in Americas region, right? Even in Australia region. So it could be anywhere. Now, in that kind of scenario, the pressure is
Mayank,
always that the data,
just a
yeah,
second. Guys, I would request you to view it in full screen if you are not able to see it properly, because I got a message from few people that in small screen it is not visible. So I'll request you all to view it in the full screen. Yeah, thank you. Mike, you can continue.
right? And now with all these kind of things, from an end user standpoint, you are coming from any device, right? Now, whether you are able to copy the data on your device or not, right? That is one factor. Then you have to have a huge amount of investment on security. Then there could be one vendor, let's say on Windows 10, right? Somebody using Windows 11, somebody using Android. So you have so many versions of operating system that are a headache for any organization. So what is the best way forward? That is what we will discuss. Plus, of course, there are norms like, for example, in Europe, you have GDPR norms, right? Even in India, government is talking about creating a sovereign cloud, keeping the data within, right? Then the organizations have to meet various compliances, like Mr. Bhatia mentioned, that you have ISO 27001 and various other compliances, right? So that is again a pressure for these guys, right? Now, for a vendor or a SI to provide these services, the biggest thing is when you are providing an environment or a architecture to a solution, you have to think whether whatever you're proposing, whether it is becoming too complex, whether it is going to stop cyber security attacks, right? Then how you are going to manage the distributed workforce, how you are going to manage various infra, because could be that in some place you have infra on cloud, somewhere you have infra on prem, somewhere it could be a partner managed or a colo location, right? Then all these giants which are various, I mean, in business for various years, they also will have some or the other legacy systems, right? Which could be something that they cannot get rid of, right? Now, like I said, when the users are coming from various location, various devices, you have to ensure that the data doesn't leak at all and the device posture is checked, right? Now, another example I'll give. For example, if you are a services organization, not in IT, but other services. For example, you might be providing HR services, accounting services, legal services, right, to your customers, and somebody is managing your infra, right? In that scenario, you have various different type of users. So your user personas can be multiples. It cannot be that okay, there are 5 different 10 categories or personas that you have mapped, right, and that will work. No, you will have different personas, and I have seen at least organization with 10,000 users where the number of personas was so high, almost around 400 different type of personas that they were managing. So it's a very complex environment, right? So as a IT service provider, you have to manage that. Now, when you try to adopt technologies, right, to solve customer problems, right, you have to look at various aspects, whether you are getting the sufficient support, whether the flexibility is there in terms of licensing. And like I mentioned in the previous slide, the customer could have multiple different kind of environments. So there will be multiple different hypervisors, right? Whether your support solution support that hypervisors or not, then whether you are able to meet legacy solutions requirement, right? Whether you are able to manage the MFA for the users, because nowadays password, most of the organizations are getting rid of the password thing, right? Everybody is looking for passwordless sign-in mechanism to ensure the user is actually validated properly, right? Then, because you have so many users coming from so many devices, you need to think about whether you are able to get the a standard environment for some, for example, through a thin client or something like that. So this all creates a bigger challenge, because ultimately, as a IT service provider, we need to, cater to all those requirements. And if there are too many moving parts, right, some or the other where it might fail, right? So these are, some of the use cases which we have as an organization seen over the past few years, when we work with our partners, GSI partners, and other, BPO partners who are either our customers or providing services to other customers, right? So I'll take a pause here, go through it, then I'll, jump on some of the critical ones, right? So, like for example, I was working with one of the customer who is providing KPO kind of services to it end clients, where they use a jump box kind of setup to enter into the environment that has customer I mean that customer has provided, right? So in that kind of scenarios, people generally prefer VDI solutions, right? Where a ZTNA solution like ours can actually help you reduce the cost of VDI, reduce the cost of Microsoft licensing, to ensure that you deliver a cost effective solution, but at the same time meeting all the compliances for the customer. Sometimes, what happens is that, like in the case of this customer, they wanted the user to have a US based IP, because that's the compliance for the health sector in US. So in that scenario, whatever VDI they would host, they would have to host it in US, right? But with the ZTNA solution, we eliminated that, right? And in that scenario, we were able to use our VPN capability within our ZTNA product to match that requirement of IP coming from US, but user can be accessing it from anywhere, right? Because ultimately, what you're sending to the end user machine is just a screen refresh, right? There's no data that is flowing from the end user device, and neither you are able to take anything out of it, right? Only thing is that you are able to see the screen, but everything is running within the US data center of the customer or the partner. Then the second thing is the kiosk mode, which is much talked about, because, like I told you, a lot of the customers, they allow users to bring their own device, right? So let's say I am a manufacturing company and I have a logistic partner who is working with us for transportation of the material from one location to another. Now their users have mobile devices. So in that scenario, or if they are using their own desktop PCs and all to access our application, the supply chain application, to enter the information and take out the receipts and everything. In that scenario, I don't want that while you are working on my system, your local machine application should be accessible. So during that session time, we can block that, user to access any of the local machine applications or feature functionality. Only thing that he will be able to do it within the app. That will ensure that neither you are able to take screenshot or nothing of those sorts, and now you are able to copy anything, right? The third thing that is very important is that, the infrastructure should be optimized and your cost should be reduced, because that is the topmost priority. Because any CIO, CISO, they are answerable for to business, right? It is not just the you are meeting the technological requirements, but you also have to ensure that either you are able to uh, drive the cost down or at least be on the same cost. But looking at the current scenario, if you go with the same solution, your cost is going to increase, right? Because most of these solutions that are available in market
We
are
have
on
seen,
subscription.
Anuj has raised his hand.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Anuj, can you mm, Anuj, can you write the question in the chat box? And there is Devashish Mohapatra who has mentioned that hi, make your presentation full screen. Right now, could only see 2 into 4 size.
Should I reshare my screen? Is it better now?
I can see it extremely well because it's okay for me. If somebody has any issue, can okay, it's thumbs up has come.
Okay, great.
And Anuj has raises, and if you have a question, you can write it in the chat bot. Sorry, live chat. I mean, okay, you can continue.
Okay. Now, so like I was saying, that you have to, if you, because a lot of the service providers or the OEMs, they have moved to the subscription licensing model, and subscription doesn't go down; it always go up, right? So you have to think in that direction as well. With our solution, we are still keeping our perpetual licensing model alive, where you might have a higher cost at the year one, but year two and year three onwards, you will see a significant cost reduction because all you are doing is paying for annual maintenance uh, and the support cost, right? So that way you are able to reduce your cost going forward. Plus, at the same time, we don't charge for any new feature that we build in our solution, uh, which we are enhancing, right? So that also creates more value for our customer because every benefit cannot be a tangible benefit. There are some non-tangible benefits as well. Now, when we come to technology, right? People talk about zero trust, right? But is the solution offered by competitors like Zscaler, Netscope, and all, is it really zero trust? You can check that while you can search in Google for a website or article called DEFCON 33, where they expose the vulnerabilities that these solutions offer, right? Where even you can see that there are scenarios where you can get privileged access using some loopholes in the solution, right? So I would highly recommend you, please do a Google search on DEFCON 33 and just type ZTNA, and you will be able to see that article. So what exactly is zero trust then, right? Zero trust means that you trust nobody, no device, no network, and you don't trust any platform. You always have to focus on the contextual access rather than connectivity. What does it mean is that in a traditional VPN, for example, once you establish a VPN connection, most of the organization they provide full access to the organizational data. But that should not be the case for ZTNA. In that case, whether you are the right user, whether you have the privilege access to that particular application, that matters a lot. And that is what is contextual. Whether you are accessing things from home or you are accessing from office, that also plays a very important role. That what you can access from home and what you can access from office, right? That is where a ZTNA model will come into play. The other aspects are to validate the intent of the user, validate the device posture, validate, uh, or segment the network. Then you have to segment the applications, right? So all these things come into play when you talk about a zero trust model. So first thing is that you authenticate, you segment the network, and you segment the applications. And like I said, in authentication, it matters what is the intent of the user, who is the user, where he is coming from. All those things need to be checked, which in our case, our solution offers, right? It not only validate the user, it also validate where the user is coming from, whether the device posture is in order. For example, your organization has released and asked everyone to be updating their virus definitions and everything on version 3.0. And if you are on still on 2.0 or 2.5, the system ideally will not allow you to log in. Even if your Windows update are not proper, you are not able to log in. Let's say you are a user who is accessing or is supposed to access the environment from India or from a particular city, but suddenly you started accessing the environment, let's say from Russia. The system will not allow you to log in because your device posture, your region is not matching. Let's say you are a BPO user, right? And your shift starts at 10 o'clock in the night till morning 7 a.m. And suddenly you start accessing the environment at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The system will not allow you to log in because you are outside your work shift. Also, if you are only supposed to access it from office and you try to access it from home, the system will not allow you to log in. Even though you might have access to the public URL of the solution. It could be that the organization would have given it to executive to access it from outside, and somehow you know it, but the system will not allow you to log in, right? That's the part where we validate all these aspects. Then we So, like I said, you validate the human, you devise the intent, and you also monitor it continuously, right? And this is how we do it. When you have a user logging in, rather than just asking for username and password, you have so many options for MFA, be it email, even hardware token or mobile token. Even our solution supports biometric authentication, not just fingerprint, but also facial authentication. So that way, facial is much more advanced and much more reliable because let's say I have a user and I have provided the access using my fingerprint and I have moved away from my desk, somebody else is sitting at my desk, he or she will be able to use it, right? But if you have enabled for these critical systems, you have enabled facial authentication. So as a user, unless I am sitting at my desk, the system will work. As soon as I'll move away or somebody standing behind me, the system will log off. Even if someone tries to show my photograph and access the system will not allow them to log in, right? So that is something which is very unique to Accops. So like I said, how you validate the device, you do the device posture check, right? And then when I was telling you about the intent, about the time, the location, everything. That is how you validate the intent of a user. Then comes the segmentation of the network, right? And like I was explaining, that in a normal VPN scenario, you are sitting, uh, you know, a VPN solution is sitting, let's say, in your DMZ. The user is accessing the environment from inside, and once the authentication happens, user has full access to the whole environment, right? But with the ZTNA model of Accops, you move the user access to the gateway. So now it is all role based access, your contextual access, and user is validated per application. If the user is not meant to access a particular application, he or she will not have access. Same thing applies to the folders. So the network drives, you might not be able to access it, let's say, from outside. But when you are in office, you can access it. Now, when we talk about segmenting the application, so in a traditional PC, everything resides on user machine. What a user is doing, nobody knows, right? This gives a bigger challenge because as an IT organization, I don't know what user is doing. And I have to manage so many distributed and workforce, distributed endpoints. Somebody might be using HP, somebody is using Dell, somebody has Windows, somebody has MacBook, somebody has Chromebook. So many devices to manage, right? And that is why people wanted to move away and give the option of BYOD so that they don't have to manage those devices. But that has a bigger threat, like we said, right? Then you have to manage the devices. Earlier it was Windows 10 to 11. Now in future it could be 11 to 12, and your device might not be compatible. So you have to refresh those devices. It's a huge cost on an organization. Plus, nowadays, most of the governments across the globe, including India, everybody get points on ESG, right? Environmental guidelines. So if you are meeting those things, if you have reduced your carbon footprint, you are able to, get more rewards from the government, be it in terms of taxation or whatever. So large organization don't want to lose on that. That is why VDI comes into play, because everything is now from your data center and only a user is getting screen refresh, which doesn't consume a lot of power. So hence you can do away with your desktops and use thin clients or iPads or Chromebook and those kind of devices without worrying about managing them, because everything is residing within your data center. You only have to manage that infrastructure, not the endpoint devices, right? So your compliances are met, be it a regional compliance or a organization-wide compliance. All those things will be taken care of because data is within your data center. Because your user apps and desktop, everything is running on data center, your cost gets reduced drastically, right? Because your manpower is the hidden cost that people generally neglect. They only calculate the hardware and the software licenses, but they always tend to forget the manpower cost. In a traditional PC, as per Gartner, for every 200 to 250 uh, users, you need a one person to manage the devices. But in case of VDI, it is 1000 to 1500 VDI for which you need one person to manage it, right? So that way you are able to drive the cost down by reducing number of folks supporting the end user computing environment when VDI is in play. And then because it's a device owned by user, you don't have any dependency. Uh, a solution like ours run on any device by a client or using a client or a browser. It doesn't matter. Both way it works. So we spoke about what is possible, what we can do. But let me give you a brief if somebody is new who doesn't know much about Accops. We are a 13-year-old organization, part of the Reliance Geo Group. Geo Platforms Limited is the organization in the Reliance uh, who owns us. The majority of stakes are with them now, and they are world largest mobile provider, services provider, I'll say, right? We have been part of Gartner's quadrant for last 3 years, but for last 2 years we were only getting honorable mention. But this year, the report that last came in August, we came in the main quadrant because Gartner only tracks the cloud-based implementations, not the on-prem solution. Otherwise, we would have reached Gartner long back. We are present across the globe, either through our partners or we have our own office in, let's say, Middle East. We have a partner, joint office with a partner in Japan. We serve more than 200 plus customers in Japan and almost, I think, 110 customers in Middle East as of today, and few customers in Europe, US, those regions. But we are now expanding in those regions because after this fiasco of Citrix and VMware, and they have started increasing the price like crazy. So we are getting some good opportunities, and next year you will be able to see that we have done a significant business in regions as well. So where are we in the Gartner's quadrant? In the third quadrant, we are here, right? It is not very far that one, in few years or couple of years, I'll say, we should be hitting the leaders quadrant. So these are the pillars of our solution. The base one, where the entry point in the for an organization user is going to be our ZTNA gateway. Then once you hit our ZTNA gateway, you get to see the MFA option, which also brings the IAM and the SSO functionality along with it. So your DLP requirements and all can be easily met. Then you have your virtual apps and desktop, just like Citrix used to have ZenApp and Zen Desktop. Same thing we also have. But a biggest differentiator is that we have our own endpoint devices and endpoint management software. So that way we are able to cater to most of the demands for end users through our solution. These are some of our strategic accounts in India. Some of the largest customers that we have. For VDI, our largest customer is Reliance Industries with more than 100,000 plus users. And for ZTNA, after NIC, our largest customer is TCS. But TCS also has a VDI landscape of more than 20,000 plus. users, which is expanding year on year. We have recently won a deal for one of our insurance customer where TCS is providing managed services for them uh, through their UK entity. And we have our team has actually done a amazing job by migrating 3,500 users of Citrix to Accops within 14 days. And on 15th day, there was a cutoff of Citrix. So let's quickly discuss this. Then I will hand it over to Siddharth and Jatin for quiz. So I'll not take much time. So like I said, the TCS is one customer where we have more than 350,000 users, going up to 6 lakhs users or 600,000 users by the end of this year, where earlier their solution was hosted on Citrix, and now it is on Accops, where the user log in to access their pay slips and every other thing which is provided by the organization. The only thing that they don't access from this platform is a customer specific environment, because in their scenario they have to sit and work from ODCs on designated devices which are provided by the customer, right? TCS has no control on those devices. So in that scenario, if they have some personal requirement related to their employment, everything is available on this particular portal, which is accessible by all the employees. And why they looked at Accops? Because their cost was increasing day in, day out, right? Even though we did it on Azure as a platform, and earlier they were on prem with Citrix, still we were able to achieve better TCV for them. And overall cost has reduced drastically for the organization. Over next 5 years, they will see a significant uh, savings. Another TCS use case that we have also delivered is for their R&D users or the lab users, which are like, they hire freshers and provide 3 to 6 months training. So for them, this can act as a lab environment, because ACOP solution has something like a capacity planning tool, which will uh, increase or decrease or turn on or off the VMs based on the user requirement. So let's say I am teaching data science and somebody else is teaching some other thing, right? Or AI. In that case, while in my class, the VM with the data science application will be up. And as soon as my session is over, the VMs will go down. And the next session, let's say it is AI, the VM required for AI learning or programming, that VM will come up with the specific tools. So that's the beauty with ICOP solution. Okay. So NIC, as most of you know, that they provide services to various government departments. So the interaction and the engagement started around Corona time, where even the Prime Minister office used to run on Accops. And NIC provide cloud-based or cloud-like services to various government departments across India. Various ministries use NIC, and they are the largest customer on ZTNA, solution. Okay, I think I'm on time, right, Jatin? Over to you then, to the quiz.
Yeah, thank you, Umangji, for a very insightful session. Okay, everyone, quickly have a round of quiz to know what you have understood from the session. So it will be, it will be timed, and then we'll also be showing you the answers to the quiz itself, so you have a better understanding. And
Jatin, one quick thing before we start the quiz, if there are any questions from any attendees, we can take that.
yeah, sure, we can do that, Mansi. Guys, the forum is open for you to raise your questions. If you have any technical as well as related to the use cases which Mankji has shown, or how to talk to the customer in case there is any requirement which comes up. So you can ask your questions.
Yeah, I think Yashita has raised her hand. Yashita, you can ask your question. There will be a section for Q&A on the right-hand side. So you can just like put your question there and Mayank will answer.
So that will I get the question in live chat?
Yeah, you will get the question in the Q&A. So
Okay,
write,
okay,
write the question mark, the Q&A, you'll get there.
okay.
Okay,
You
guys.
can,
One thing I missed to add. So this quiz is going to be timed, as well as the person who will give the maximum number of correct answers will be getting gifts delivered to themselves. So um, please hang on till the time the session is over, and then I'm going to start the quiz in next 2 minutes.
yeah, Mayank, so I think Yashita has asked her question in the live chat. So you can check that and answer from there.
I don't see any question. I don't know why.
No, she has asked in the live chat actually. So she has asked,
Oh,
as
okay.
you said, if standing behind system will get log off automatically. Can you help, please help in details the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
logics?
Okay, okay. So, Yashita, in our facial authentication mechanism, right, it is a continuous monitoring, and the user will not know when the system will monitor. It will be very, very random, right? So, let's say you are working on the system, and I stand behind you and I'm watching what you're doing, right? In that scenario, the system will detect there is another person in the room or another person, in front of the camera, and the system will, log off. I hope it answers your question. So it's a continuous monitoring process. It's very random. It happens every few seconds. But we can also time this. Okay. So for example, number of tries, let's say once it might have failed. Whether how many times we want it to fail before it logs off. So that can be, added. No, so system will log off, but your session is not disconnected. So if you log in again, the system, you will start working from wherever you have left. Yeah, yeah. So, uh, like you talked about the government sector. So, I mean, most of the government organizations like Indian Army, Air Force, ONGC, DRDO, ISRO, all of them, the Department of Atomic Energy, they are all using our solution. Banks like Axis Bank, HDFC Bank, Kotak Securities, they are using our solution. And right now, with the GSI partners, we are working on very large opportunities. And so, for example, the one which I was talking about, the UK customer, where we did, uh, 3,500 users implementation, the end customer name is Aviva Insurance, right? Then we have Thales. Some call it as Thales, right? So is also, you might have heard about them from Thales Security Services. That's one division. But there's another division which prints credit cards and debit cards in Europe, right? And they are based out of France. They are our customer. Then
Manoj,
another, the
can you,
large pharma or chemical company, I will say, is called Roche. That opportunity is through Infosys, and Infosys and Accops are working together in Roche. That's a Switzerland-based account. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. So most of them are so Captain Ashish. The most of the solutions that have gone as a bundled offering, the main solution is VDI, but ZTNA is very important to make sure, like I showed you a slide, right, which talks about authentication. So authentication happens on our ZTNA gateway, right? Then you are accessing VDI or applications that are published to the users, right? So that is what we have sold, and it's called a digital workspace solution, to be precise, which is a bundle offering, not a standalone solution. But we do have standalone products. Like, for example, our High Secure is our ZTNA solution. It can be sold separately. Then our solution is called High ID for MFA. That can be sold separately, but we don't sell VDI separately because of security aspect. We bundle it with, at least with our ZTNA gateway, so that the communication is 256-bit encryption plus it is TLS 1.2 or 1.3 is supported, and every communication happens over 443, which is very secure, rather than a simple 3389 port, which generally all the RDP happens, right? So we don't want to do that, and to make things more secure, we bundle it with the bronze edition of our ZTNA gateway, which only offers, as a, I'll say, a portal or a storefront server. In case of Citrix, if you are aware of those terminologies, so that will be, you know, the solution. I hope it answers your question. Okay, I think we had some great questions, Jatin. Maybe we can start with the quiz. We only have 7 minutes left.
sure, Bangji, thank you so much. Thank you for answering all those questions. So I'll be sharing my screen. We'll have a short quiz. Each question will be timed for 20 seconds. So you would have 20 seconds to answer that. And then I will display the correct answer as well. Siddharth, can you start the poll as well for the quiz?
Yeah, Jitendra, so they can just drop a comment in the live chat. That'd be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope my screen is visible. Can someone acknowledge? Siddharth, can I start?
Yes, yes, it is visible.
Okay. So the first question is this. You have 20 seconds.
जोगिंदर ने मैसेज किया है सबसे पहले.
Okay. So this is the correct answer, guys.
No one has answered. जोगिंदर ने मैसेज किया वो भी गलत. Guys, please. गिफ्ट मिलना है भाई.
Okay, moving on to the next. आया किसी का आंसर?
Yeah, multiple people are answering this in the
Okay. So this is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. Come on, guys. Okay, time is up. This is the correct answer for this question. Moving on to next. I think there were some few questions related to this. 3 seconds left. Okay, time's up. So continuous assessment means to monitor time, location, and access patterns. This is the correct answer. This is the next question. Timer starts now. I think this should be simple for everyone. Four seconds. Okay, time's up. I think this is the last one. In a ZTNA architecture, what can a user see? Time's up. It's only the applications and the ports which are allowed for that user and device. Okay, we have one more. So what are the authentication methods which Accops support? Should be simple one for everyone. Five seconds. supports everything starting from tokens, biometric, Windows Hello, and we also support passwordless. Last one major operational advantage of EDI. Mayank sir spent about 2-3 minutes talking about this, so should be easy. Okay, time's up. Siddharth, I think we've got good participation here.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing, guys. Thank you so much. And if you have any other queries or if you want a deeper discussion, please get in touch with your partner connect or just write a mail to contact at the Accops. We'll be happy to give you a better understanding. Thank you.
Mayank, would you like to close the session by giving a closing note to everyone?
Yeah, I'll do that. Hi team, I have just messaged my WhatsApp number and the mobile number is the same one. You can reach out to me on this number, and I am channel account manager for North. We have a channels team present across North, South, West. People in South can reach out to uh, uh, Anjana and Gerald. For West, we have location. For North and East. I am available for any query. And thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Mayank, for the insight on the Accops technology. Thank you, Jatinder, for taking the what I'll say quiz so well, and Ruchir and Siddharth for coordinating it. Thank you so much. We'll now conclude it. Thanks so much. Bye. Girish is silent. Get it. Thanks, Girish. Thanks, group
Thank you,
captains.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.